Hello, this is Dr. Alan Yim. In this video, I'm going to show you how to reinterpret a fully diminished seventh chord. In this case, I'm going to begin in the key of C with the 7 fully diminished seventh. So this is a borrowed chord. Since I'm writing in C major, normally this chord would be a half diminished seventh, and it would sound something like this. But I'm going to lower the seventh down to flat, and then it will resolve, of course, to 1. So this is a pre-tonic chord. It functions as a dominant. Okay, let's take a look at this. First I'll write the chord B, and we know since we're in the key of C, I'm not going to be adding any accidentals except for that seventh, as I mentioned before. So it's going to be B, D, F, and the seventh of the chord A flat to make it fully diminished rather than half diminished. Now, when we reinterpret this chord, what we're going to do is instead of treating the bottom of this note here as the root of the chord, we're going to treat the other three pitches, the third, the fifth, and the seventh, we're going to treat those as roots. So let's take a look at what this looks like. So for the second chord, I'll just take the tenor, for example. If we take the tenor, and I'll put this in another color, D, fully diminished seventh. Now the interesting thing about the fully diminished seventh chord, as you invert it, of course, since they're made up of all minor thirds, this chord remains fully diminished. So any of the notes can serve as the root. So the D, fully diminished, over B is going to be the second one. All right. Now, sometimes when you write these, you have to rewrite them because D, well, we have to think, can that function as the seventh of another key? And yes, if we go up a half step from D, we could write this, for example, in E flat. So I'll use E flat. All right, I'll put the key signature in like this, and the pitches should remain the same enharmonically. We may have to spell them differently. I'm going to begin with D. We go D, F, A flat. That remains the same way. And then the B. Okay, well, B, we know that if we're writing a seventh chord, it's not D, F, A, B. That doesn't work. It should be D, F, A, C. So I'm going to write a C down here. And now notice what has to happen. Because it's enharmonic, I have to write a flat there as well. So it's not going to be B here, but rather it's going to be C flat. D fully diminished seventh over C flat. Okay, let's take the next one. F. F fully diminished 7. Again, it's going to be over something. This time I won't write it. Actually, we know it's going to be F, A flat, C flat, and then E double flat. Okay, that's a little preview. Here we go. So, first thing of all is I have to think about a key. Do we have the key of G flat? And of course the answer is yes. So again, I'm treating the F as the root of the chord, but it's also T in the scale. So I'm going up a half step from F to figure out the key. And it's going to be G flat. Okay, G flat has 6 flats. So we'll just put in the key signature, bead G, C, if you're wondering. Bead G, C. Okay, there's the key signature, and now let's go ahead and write in the chord. F, A flat. Okay, we now know that this is C flat, and actually I have to be a little bit careful here because I have to observe the key signature. And when you have the key signature, some of the accidentals will change. So I don't need that A flat anymore. I don't need the C flat. They're already in there. I have to think bead G, C. Okay, so, and then the last one it's a D in the original, but is D in that chord? Well, F, A, C, E. It should be some kind of an E. So I'll write the E. Now that would be an E flat. Is E flat enharmonic to the D in the tenor? Absolutely no. We have to make this E double flat. So this is what it would look like. I hope I have this right. F, A flat, C flat, and E double flat. Okay, let's go to the last one. The last one is A flat. Now here's where it gets a little bit tricky, because take a look at this. A flat, if we use A flat as the leading tone, well, what's that going to go to? It's going to go to B double flat. B double flat is not a key. So if A flat is the leading tone, we're going to have to think of it differently. We're going to have to think of that instead of instead of A flat, we're going to have to think of this as, and I'll write it in green, G sharp. So it's G sharp fully diminished, because we can't use A flat as a leading tone, as T, because we don't have the key of B double flat. So we'll make it G sharp, and then we could think in the key of A. And that makes sense. Okay, so we'll make this the key of A. Now there will be sometimes more than one possibility. Obviously this could be A minor. Sometimes, like for the key of G flat, it could be F sharp. It just depends on how you would like to do this. But you'll see all of these different cases in music. And I will warn you that sometimes composers do not spell these chords as they function. So, and actually when they serve as pivot chords for modulation, you can only write it in one key. So in the other key, the spelling is not going to be, it's not going to be right. It's going to be spelled enharmonically. So just be on the lookout for chords that are spelled enharmonically and don't really function how they look. Okay, G sharp, fully diminished 7. Let's try it out. Okay, so first thing I have to figure out is where's the root of this chord. Well, we know it's in the soprano, so let me write this here. This is going to be G sharp, and then a B, G sharp, B, D, and that's the, remember we're trying to keep this all minor thirds. So G sharp, B, D, and F. Now the F, we have to make it natural because there is an F sharp in the key signature. Okay, I think I have it now. I would always recommend very strongly that you be super careful when you write these, because it's very easy to make a mistake in terms of accidentals, and even accidentals in the chord symbols. It's very easy to make a mistake. One thing to also notice here is how are the keys related. When you modulate using a fully diminished seventh chord, what is the relationship between these keys? We'll take a look here. Okay, C to E flat to G flat, and G flat to A, which is a little bit enharmonic. This is B double flat. All of these are minor thirds, and of course you expect that because the roots are separated by minor thirds. And of course A to C is a minor third. Okay, so when you modulate here, be careful, double check to make sure that your keys are a minor third apart. And this is what it sounds like. Okay, so the first one, B fully diminished, goes to C. Again, the second chord is going to sound the same. D fully diminished seventh is going to go to E flat. Okay, or it interpreted as F fully diminished seventh, it's going to can also go to G flat. And then the last one, same chord again, as a G sharp chord can go to A. Alright, and that's it. So you can see any of these chords can serve as the fully diminished seventh chord leading to a particular key, based on exactly the same sound but reinterpreted enharmonically. Thanks for watching this video.